Well, farewell to Walvis Bay, farewell to Namibia, and farewell to Africa.
Four boats, not just one boat.
7. Oh, this one's here?
Yeah.
Oh.
And we say goodbye to the thousands of seals out at the point. It's just amazing. They love this nutrient-rich water. Man. Now it's March 5. We've got 700 and some odd nautical miles left to go on this 1,212 nautical mile trip. And the wind has eased off enough that we've got the asymmetric up. Are we there yet?
Please.
Hey. What a rolly night.
Coffee.
Oh.
Hello.
I was just saying, are we there yet? Holy shit. Oh, that was a terrible night. And we still got 400 and something miles to go. It's March 8th. 8:17 local time. That's UTC. Reminds me a bit of a larger version of Pitcairn. It's been quite an uncomfortable passage. All of us are sick and tired of the rolling. And what we really needed on the boat was a whisker pole to hold out the Genoa, because it was just not happy. The wind was constantly behind us, and you'd adjust course to put it on the quarter, and 5 minutes later it would the wind would change direction a bit, and you'd be in problems again. Yeah, arriving in a new place is always a highlight of the sailing life. So much to explore. And as we come around the northwestern shoulder of the island, the northeastern shoulder of the island, I should say, you can see Jamestown Bay coming into sight. Spoken to St. Helena radio so far, and now been trying to contact Jamestown Port Control. Jamestown comes into sight there, and pretty well at the center of the screen you can see Jacob's Ladder going up the hill. Because a lot of the town appears to be at the top of the hill there. I hadn't realized that. Well, yeah, it was too bad we didn't have that video. That was kind of exciting. There's a bit of a wind here today, as you can tell, and there's some current too. And we did what was recommended. We pulled up beside this mooring, I don't know what you call it, mooring ball or mooring puck or whatever you want to call it. And Matt jumped down on top of it and passed the lines through it and brought them back up. First of all, it's not very stable. It was moving around like crazy, and he wasn't sure if he was going in the water or not. And the second thing was that once we got the lines up here, we were holding the boat against the wind, and it was really hard. So Matt took one line, I took the other one, we walked him to the bow, and it probably took about 5 minutes to get there, because we had to stop and wait for the wind to get a little lighter and then pull a bit more. Anyway, we finally did it.
Good work, guys.
Yeah.
Hopefully getting it off won't be as hard.
No, getting it off so easy, just let go one end and pull it in. Yeah. But that was funny.
All right.
Anyway,
we're here.
We're here. We are here. And where are we? Here we are. There's Jamestown is over there. And here's how you get to shore here at St. Helena. This is a ferry boat. Oh, that looks like fun. I'll pass you this stuff first. May have to throw that on. I'm gonna grab that post. Beautiful. All right. Come on, Carol. We'll tell you what it was like. Just grab this post here. Good job.
Okay.
Excitement.
Thanks.
How's it going? Yeah, that was probably easier, I think. Well, it's certainly doable. But it's interesting. Oh yes, Jacob's Ladder over there, yes. But first of all, we got to check in. Got to find out where to go. Oh, nice. We're going to definitely have to try that out. Apparently it's a public pool. Oh yeah, over there, there's a giant
What?
jacuzzi.
Oh, yeah, but when it's just people.
It's got water, it got air bubbles. All right. Well, first stop taken care of, into the bank where we were able to use a debit card to get cash. That was one concern, but that's good. Now we're gonna go find immigration and find a place to have something to eat for lunch. Well, I didn't get to walk Jacob's Ladder today. We were a little busy checking in and doing the other stuff, grabbing a half hour's worth of internet at this hotel. But tomorrow's another day. Really is an interesting town. I'm looking forward to exploring the country here. We'll be here for about a week. Well, I had a delightful dinner here at this restaurant on the main street. I didn't get to go up my ladder today, but tomorrow, definitely. Definitely. Yes, that's a view of the surroundings. Up there, you might be able to make out at the center of the screen a little kind of irregularity. That's the roadway that switchbacks up the mountain. Before that roadway was built, the Jacob's Ladder was the only way out of town. That's tomorrow's little adventure. This is Castle Gardens, just opposite the restaurant we were in. We think it may be a shortcut back to the dock.
This is where I was going to come up the first time. We're going to save us some time.
Well, heading back to the ferry now. After a short but delightful day in town. This is a small boat anchorage for the fishing boats and local boats. And the yachts are a little further down there. And this is just a little view of the gallows here. The landing area. Tide's up a bit, so some place may be a little bit wet. So this is March 12th, and today we're going to tackle Jacob's Ladder. The side of the hill there I was noticing is actually about 45 degrees. I had said 60, but it's actually more like 45. Only 699 steps, I believe. Okay, so 5 minutes, eh? Okay, no problem. Well, they are fairly tall steps. 10 to 12 inches. I would say maybe 12 inches. And my first little breather here. I guess I've gone up, oh, maybe between 100 and 200 feet. Oh, maybe 45 meters, something like that. Well, that's another walk I'd like to do. Over in the center of the picture, along that way, along, switches back and goes up and then continues along the roadway to some gun batteries that are just to the north of town. That may be a good trip for another day. You can see at the bottom of the screen there's a tennis court, and then a little bit up to the right and beyond that, a swimming pool. And they are just inland of a moat, a dry moat that used to be a fortification for this place. And in the moat there's, looks like an archery range. You can see some of the anti-rock fall fencing here along the side. Looking up the valley to one of the, looks like 2 roads that are exiting out of the valley nowadays. Yeah, I think I've gone about halfway or a little more. You can see at the end there it gets a little steeper. And there's a chicken path here that runs up from one of the switchback roads. So you could walk that if you wanted to. It's pretty steep. 45 degrees is pretty steep. Now I don't know whether the railing is moving. I don't think it is, but my sea legs are still telling me that the ground is moving. Time for another break. That's a small boat mooring field for the local boats, fishing boats and such. We're just a little farther to the left, to the south. Oh, another of many breaks. You see Matt is starting up. Matt is starting up behind me. Getting very close to the top now. There's, I believe, less than 100 steps left. Somebody has been scratching some numbers on some of the steps. the end here, the steep steps get much steeper. The 45 slope probably builds to like 55. And there we are. The inclined plane was constructed for the St. Helena Railway Company under the supervision of Mellis St. Helena Artillery Regiment, rebuilt by the Royal Engineers 1871. Length 924 feet, rise of steps 11 inches average, height above sea level 602 feet. Well, there you go. So I guess this is the outskirts of the town, which is at the top of the hill here. A fellow at the Consular Hotel said, or that's basically, it's just homes up here. It's not really much else. Not anything that you would call a real town. Starting to rain a bit. Red-billed tropic bird. I just saw one of those flying by. These definitely look like old military barracks or fortifications. Not surprisingly, this is Ladder Hill Fort. 1873. I'm guessing these are now government buildings. I don't know if the old fort's being used, but there's fire trucks here. Looks like a fire station. And there's some better kept old buildings in the background there. See if I can see Prince Diamond from up here, which should be visible. Well, there she is. Now this has been our internet hub, Consulate Hotel.
hard hat on, like a homeless thing.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, very nice. Expensive.
And today is the island tour. It's the 13th of March.
Sorry about that, but I went up this going down ahead. I never got it till 10 minutes after half past. I had to go up to the hospital with the parcel. But now, to start off, I got some pictures of what I talk about.
Okay.
But I don't let no one take pictures of them because if they do, then they will give the pictures to Tracy Corker and I won't get no more tours.
Okay.
We're going up the hill. We're going to go up that left-hand road.
There's the laundry here.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the laundry.
Yeah, our laundry was just going to be at the Consulate Hotel.
Carol's favorite place. Loves walking here every morning.
Briars.
The what?
The Briars.
Vegetable garden. Briars. What
This
is
is the Briars.
This is the name of the place.
Name of the place.
Did Josephine, did Josephine know about the girlfriend?
Bezo!
Hey, Beto! How are you?
Place, is it 15? Next place?
Did you guys put those on the boat?
We did.
Like you too, really?
You stayed here as a guest of an English family
You both have, yeah.
by the name of the Belcon from the 18th of October until the 10th of December, when he, along with all his entourage, all 28 that came with him, they all moved to Longwood, and there, of course, he remained until his death on the 5th of May 1821. Having arrived on the 15th of October 1815 on HMS the Northumberland, they disembarked 2 days later after the arrival of the warship. 3 days after Napoleon's arrival on the island, they took Napoleon to Longwood. They wrote, it was just Napoleon, General Bertrand, and Admiral Sir George Colborne. It was more or less an introductory visit. They showed Napoleon the house, that was to be his home, and according to the records, he was very impressed looking at the building. Perhaps one can understand his sentiments. It was built as a barn originally. And very little alterations was being done to it because previous governors occasionally used it as a little retreat for whatever the case was. But anyway, renovation work was being done on it to accommodate Napoleon and his party. When Napoleon looking at the building, he felt very depressed and he said no. He preferred to go back to Jamestown. Although he did mention that he would not like to spend another night in humid Jamestown. While riding back to Jamestown along the road, which you will shortly take, well, after looking at the building, he's very depressed looking at the building. Perhaps one can understand his sentiments. Who knows what was going through his mind, looking at this rambling old building that was to be his home for the duration. Perhaps he had visions flitting through his mind all the grand homes he owned in Europe during his campaigns, whatever it was. He said he'd prefer to go back to Jamestown. And he saw the Briars. He was absolutely enchanted with it. His first view of the Briars. It was in the month of October. It's our summer months. And no disrespect to Longwood area, but it can be very dismal and cold and damp at the best of times because you've got a prevailing wind, a southeast straits, or comes up from Fisher's Valley, and it can be very, very, looking at something like 200 years on now, the Briars was in stark contrast to it. It was a sunny day, water was cascading over the falls then, but the birds singing, all the rest of it, he was absolutely enchanted. So he said, would it be possible to introduce him to who it was that owned this property here? And they agreed to it. They were just going back to town. Time wasn't of the essence. Now they brought him here. Now William Belcombe, who owned the property, he knew nothing of this visit. He didn't know, in fact, that he's going to be paid a visit so early. So of course, you would like me to cheer for you with it? No, it's okay. Okay. But he said that now, so one can perhaps, he knew that Napoleon was on the island. In fact, the whole island knew, because 2 weeks prior to the arrival of the Northumberland, a British sloop came here with dispatches for the governor. They said Napoleon was on his way, so one can understand all the curiosity. So perhaps one can understand Belcombe's surprise to seeing these 3 horsemen cantering up the driveway, and after getting over his initial surprise, he offered Napoleon the hospitality of his home. And Napoleon thanked him, and he said, be quite happy, stay in the little pavilion here. Now that worked out quite conveniently, see, because most of his entourage stayed in Jamestown in a hotel or inn owned by gentlemen by the portiers, and now Napoleon said he didn't want to spend another night in Jamestown, so it was where with the accommodation. Well, everything seemed to have worked out quite conveniently. Napoleon was enchanted with the Briars. The Belcombes were delighted to have him as guests. Problem solved. So everything worked right. So for the 7 weeks that he stayed as a guest of the Belcombe, here is where he stayed. And in fact, he said there were 7 of the pleasantest weeks he spent in exile. There were 2 occasions in which he said the time that he spent here in exile was under the circumstances quite present. It was the 7 weeks that he stayed as the guest of the Belcombe, and in 1820, early part of it, when he took a great interest in the modeling and remodeling of Longwood Gardens. Okay? So the only people that stayed with him here was Napoleon himself, Countess Gesses and his young son, and a French general, General Gaucourt. Now the little attic on the building, which has been restored, was the sleeping accommodation for the Count and his son when they stayed here. And when we go in, you'll see that a little marquee tent was erected for Napoleon's use on the lawn here, on the part of the lawn, and that also was the sleeping accommodation for the general. So that was about the situation. Now those outhouses weren't in existence when Napoleon stayed here. They were only added a year later, because you can understand with the event of Napoleon coming here, the island defences was increased quite considerably, particularly the naval. You know, they have a strong naval force here. An admiral was stationed here for the duration. He decided to take up residence in the Briars, so hence you see those additional buildings. But Napoleon, when he stayed here, was just this one room. Now, unfortunately, it's not the original furniture, but it's definitely period furniture. And there are quite a few bits of the original from here and from South Africa, from Longwood, was sent to France for the exhibition, which was 2017. I believe they're back on the island now, and Michelle said we will get our bits returned to us eventually, but at the moment now in this Canada. Now this is very original though. This bit of old carpet, because this was part of the carpet that covered the floor when Napoleon lived here. So he must have placed this bit of carpet countless times. Now there's the gentleman who owned the property. That's the youngest of their 5 children. That's a painting of Betsy in the corner there. Betsy Belcombe. Yeah. That's the remains of the tea service. I believe that.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a heart-shaped waterfall. It's a potential heart-shaped waterfall.
It's not a proper waterfall.
No.
It's not proper.
It's an improper one.
If you take photos fast, you may not know what you're taking. Up here is Dennis Sudu, the king of the Sudu's house. He lived here. He was a prisoner sent from South Africa, and before he marched, he marched with his 3 wives before he come up. And he's bringing here, and after he was here, he married a saint, and he had 2 children. And those 2 children died. One died 4 years, and one died 3 months. And they was buried at St. Paul's Cathedral, graveyard. And every Christmas I put flowers on the grave, because a lot of people think and this is his photo.
Was this a fellow whose name was Setchwale?
Pardon? No. I don't know about no, eh? This is
It's son of Satisway.
Son of Saturday, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you want his photo? I went out 2000, and I was allowed. I had tried to work in the stagecoach, but I was allowed to work.
Napoleon's too.
I don't know what it will advertise here.
Yeah, but then sometimes they're not open. No, there's enough.
Hello.
Hello. You know, I sound like this type of thing now. I got to tell you, be honest with my play.
So he's no longer here, but he's been here. Was here for a while. They say it's about a mile walk. I don't know if
Except the
that's.
sign back there said 1 kilometer return.
Oh, okay. So it's a half a kilometer. Bit of an exaggeration then. So this is Napoleon's tomb for a short period. He used to love to walk in this area and would have pails of water for drinking brought back to the Briars. But he's now back in France. I have to admit this is a beautiful spot, and the air is very fresh and with a scent of pine in it. It's very nice. So this is the area known as Longwood. All the houses here were actually built fairly recently. And at the very end of the street here is Longwood House. This is where Napoleon died. After having left the Briars. So this property was purchased by France. Well, unfortunately there's no videography or photo taking allowed in Longwood House, but I hope you enjoyed some of the still pictures I managed to get. And yeah, it's quite an interesting place. Quite large actually. A lot of rooms in there. So he did all right during his final days here in St. Helena.
Those are gone with trees up there.
Go on.
Okay.
What else?
Let us know about 4,000.
We hope you enjoy your visit.
Yeah, take a picture. We'll read it later.
So the project aims to rehabilitate barren and degraded wasteland through the reestablishment of native woodland to a recreational, educational, and spiritual resource. For all in a legacy of the island spirit of community and conservation in the new millennium.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
All right,
We come back.
We've seen it. We've done it.
That's where it goes.
I planted one down there about 20 years ago, and I planted alongside the government tree. And when I come back 2 years later, they take the label off the government tree, so I couldn't find it. Up here now so you can see the back of the bottom and the back. One of the back stuff.
That's quite quite a view from here. The volcano's back there. And also, that house had something to do with Napoleon, but we're not quite sure what he was saying. Napoleon rode up here or something, used to like to ride up here or
But then I thought
something.
it was camels too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very technical.
And Diana's Peak is over here.
To the left behind us.
Up, probably there at the center of the screen, I would guess, is Diana's Peak.
Down with the bus. No? No.
You need a
And
4x4?
I need 4x4. And I only can take 6 people out of 10. So it's really steep. And I see myself on the television in England.
Yeah, and this is one of the last stops of the day, I believe. This is a governor's mansion. And this is where the big tortoises are. There's one right there.
Going for tennis.
Well, that tortoise you saw was Jonathan.